Okay, so I usually like to let me turn this up actually, because it's rather low volume. There we go. That's a little bit better. Uh, Let me ask you, but start by asking how many of my typing session videos have you seen before?
Oh, I've probably seen portions of half a dozen or so. They
Okay.
they fascinated me. So
All right. Cool. I thought before I started this, I was like, I'm gonna start with something really broad and open ended and see what you do with it. Which is, can you just tell me about your values? What things you value as ends in themselves, and which things you value as means?
value as ends in themselves. I value for personally, I value a hard to define trajectory of a personal growth towards um, I think greater understanding of myself and the universe. Not that that is even attainable, but to move in that direction and to utilize, as far as means goes, I utilize a variety of, I think, introspective techniques in the realm of spiritual activities. I also use writing as a way of kind of expressing my own personal journey
Okay.
and just to stay open to lots of new ideas and to kind of pick my way along. I don't know, a little bit of ambiguous answer, but
Can you give me an example of an instance of self growth, like, for example, an epiphanous moment, epiphany ish moment from your life?
yeah, there are several. It gets into kind of personal spiritual endeavors where I'm going along one route, thinking a particular uh, mode, but I see a. I don't want to get into concrete definitions here because I don't want to bias someone listening to me. So I have to speak in generalities, but I'm going along in a particular mode within a religious context. And one thing particularly interests me, but I'm not getting the definition of what I'm trying to get a little more. Let's say a person wants to understand or experience something inside the context of their uh, belief, and they're not getting that information. And suddenly they're asking that question. I'm asking that question, and I turn the corner and I run into uh, some kind of parallel spiritual method that boom answers the question. And
Okay.
it's like that. Like, okay, that's what I was looking for, and it's as if the answer appeared as soon as I asked the question.
Okay. Cool. So, if you were going to give one piece of advice and you knew it was going to be translated into every language and broadcast over everywhere all over the world, and it could only be as long as like 10 seconds, like one aphorism or something, what would be your aphoristic advice to the world?
Oh boy. I would say don't be stuck in the place that you are.
Interesting. Okay. So, do you feel as though you've seen examples in your life of people who you feel sad about because they seem to have stopped moving forwards?
Yeah, there's one case, particular. I'm not going to cite a
That
lot.
that's
There are,
fine.
there are, but there's one in particular, and just a sweetheart friend of mine, just an acquaintance, nothing romantic at all, but just very dear to me. was moving in a really great trajectory of personal healing after coming out of a pretty severe, you know, I don't like
An unhealthy
talking.
relationship?
It was no, it was involving alcohol
Oh,
and
okay.
that lifestyle, and was in a really healthy state, and we had a great friendship. And she did not stay on a healthy path, and as a consequence, she dropped out of communication, and it's a heartbreak for me. When she was just a really great friend. When I was sick in the hospital, she'd come and visit me, and was just a real trooper, and to not have her um, friendship because she can't be present um, makes me feel bad.
Yeah, alcohol is a hell of a drug.
Hmm.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got a fairly good accounting of the people and the relationships in your life. Do you evaluate them in terms of like do you if you were asked to, don't actually do so, but if you were asked to, would it be easy for you to list the people in your life in order of who's closest to least close?
Uh, yeah, yeah, that would not be a challenge.
Okay. Do you tend to view your life as a progression of events with the past trailing behind you, or as you in the center of a circle of events?
Hmm. That's kind of a tough one. I can see analogies to both. Um, More inclined to see the trailing behind me, though, but not to negate the idea that there is active, interactive things that are happening all the time. So, yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
little
mean,
difficult.
I personally find that I use the past trailing behind me kind of self concept, but that doesn't mean that I think it's more valid. It's just what it is. Okay, so can let me do the classic SI test here. And just in case you don't remember it, I will give you an example, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing for your last couple of hours. Okay, so about 4 hours ago or something, I don't know. I woke up from a quite a long nap, a little less than 4 hours ago, and then I got in, came back out here, and well, first I went pee, then I came outside. I had a cold double McDouble because we got extras from earlier so that we could feed ourselves all day on McDoubles, and then Rachel and I watched a couple episodes of this anime we're watching. Then my client called to say she wanted to cancel tonight's session, and then she wanted to complain about her kid's English teacher. So I chatted with her for a while on the phone, and and then I watched another couple episodes of this thing, and then I started this. Can you do that for your last few hours of life?
Okay, let's see. Starting at 6:09 approximately. I had just come in from the weekend in San Luis Obispo, so I had a truck full of all those things you got to unpack and bring back inside. So in came the sack of dirty clothes in the backpack, and then I came back, and then up goes the bag of muddy shoes, and maybe not in that order, but approximately of the various things, and then there's some things that I had brought back with me to throw in the dumpster.
So
I'm helping
were you recreationing or were you doing some job?
doing
And
job. My wife is staying at and overseeing remodel of her mother's house. She inherited her mother's house, so she stays in San Luis, and I go up and spend weekends there, and then she comes down and spend the weekends here. We kind of divide our time while this project is going. So yeah, aside come in. I brought up food. I brought up from the trip. I had some cobbler that we tend to have live large when we're together and eat really bad food, and that's really fun. So after that, it was got on the phone and talked to a friend of mine that I had previously scheduled the time that I'd call him after I got in, and
Okay. All right. Cool.
okay,
So just sort of to go over already like what I'm hearing from you. It
okay,
seems like your SI front stack,
okay,
but that's based just on the ease with which you're able to articulate a bunch of successive insignificant details, right?
mm,
Typically, it's a little bit more of a tugging on it if it's a backslot SI thing. So let me go to let me ask you about some extrovert intuition questions. So, can you tell me about the marriage between this deck of cards and this this lighter? This deck of cards and this lighter. Can you tell me about the marriage of these two objects?
what is the marriage of a deck of cards and that
And this
lighter?
lighter, yeah.
Um, the only thing I can draw is, you know, guys smoking cigars around a table while they're playing poker, and the lighter is part of the paraphernalia of the event.
Okay, cool. Um, if I were to tell you I have a new product that I've invented, and it's a it's a deep fryer for deep frying turkeys in, and it's got a sparkling mobile attached to it, like it spins around and sparkles and stuff. And the only name I can come up with by product is deep fryer for turkeys with sparkling mobile attached to it. And they say that's not a good name in marketing. So they're asking me to come up with some names, but I can't come up with any. Can you come up with some good names for my new product?
Oh God, I don't know. Hanging turkey. um, uh, 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 yeah. How about turkeys on wheels? Uh, Turkey chandelier. I'm stuck on turkey. Deep fry. Um, hmm, that's pretty dorky.
The fry and spin or something. Entertain babies while you deep fry a turkey. That's the main selling point of this, right? Is okay. Um,
Give me enough time. I'll come up with one for you. I promise.
okay. Let me ask you some TI questions. It's interesting because as usual, it's like I always start these things, and right off the bat, I typically get an initial instinct, and then that evolves the more I talk to somebody. And right now, I'm feeling like my initial instinct was wrong. So I want to ask you some TI questions here.
Okay.
If there are seven Keckles in a dirge, and
Seven pickles in a dirge.
seven
Okay.
Keckles in a dirge,
Okay.
and three dirges in a clam, how many Keckles are there in a clam?
Seven keckles in a dirge and three dirges in a clam. There are 21 keckles in a clam.
Okay. If only people from Iceland like BLTs, and I like BLTs, is it necessarily the case that I'm from Iceland?
No.
Okay, how about if all people from Iceland like BLTs, and I like BLTs, is it necessarily the case that I'm from Iceland?
No.
Okay. Um, if some dogs play baseball and all baseball players like peanuts, is it necessarily the case that some dogs like peanuts?
you know, I, I wanted to change my first answer on the ice one, but never mind. Now I was thinking about that when you were asking about the peanuts, and I
Okay, you're right to change your first answer on Iceland. You're correct to change your first answer and not your second answer on
yes.
Iceland. Well, I'll ask you the dogs question again. If some dogs play baseball, and all baseball players like peanuts, is it necessarily the case that some dogs like peanuts?
Some dogs play baseball, and
All baseball
oh,
players like peanuts.
okay, yeah,
Is it necessarily the case that some dogs like peanuts?
yes,
Okay. So you're you are not 1, 2, or 7 in TI, which means
okay.
you're 3, 4, 5, 6, or 8.
Yeah, I was that one of those. If,
Well, I mean, I can only your answers. The thing is with TI questions,
yeah,
people with 1 or 2 answer them a certain way. People with polar answer them a certain way, and then everybody else is a mishmash of answers.
okay,
So you're in the everybody else category. So,
okay.
okay, so let me try a TE question now. Can you break uh, brushing your teeth into exactly 6 steps?
Okay. So you start out with those little interstitial brushes. Step one. You might have to do 2 or 3 depending on if how many gaps you got. Then you go to floss, and then you take your you get all that. So that's probably that could be up to 3 steps. Then you get your Sensodyne toothpaste and you put that on your brush.
That is some terrible fucking TE. That can be up to 3 steps.
Then the Sensodyne toothpaste because that's good for the fluoride is 4, and then that goes on your power brush and that's 5, and then you rinse that's 6.
Okay, sure. Um, okay. Uh, let's see. Okay, what do you value more when you're looking for? What do you look for when you're looking for a new show to watch, movie to see, book to read, or whatever kind of media it is you consume? A new to you piece of media. What are you looking for?
Usually, I'll want something with a bit of tongue-in-cheek humor. I really enjoy satire. I enjoy farce a lot, but I will go for a good detective show too, just because of the whodunit kind of thing that is part of that.
How easy is it for you to cry?
Not at will. I will cry on rare occasions. I'm not a big crier.
So, what about sad parts in movies or TV shows or something? Does that ever make you cry?
Uh, oh, it. Let's just say no. It's pretty rare.
Okay.
I have, but it's you really got to catch me at the right moment.
Okay, can you uh so I'm going to give you a situation and I want you to basically tell me the story of how the situation came to be. All right? So, you go down to the 7-Eleven one day and it's weird. The doors are wide open. The lights are off in the 7-Eleven. There's nobody in the store and there's a, a bloody carcass of what appears to be a coyote, you think, um, and standing next to it, a statue of a man with a sword like this, like about to stab into it, but it's made out of marble. And you look around and nobody around. Explain what happened here.
Okay, let me get the picture again. It's a 7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm.
The lights are off.
Yeah, it's like 7 in the evening, but it's still a little bit light outside. so you can
Okay.
still see in there, you know.
Okay. And there's no customers. That's odd at 7-Eleven. It's
And
seven,
no clerk
no clerk. There's a dead coyote and a marble statue.
of a man stabbing down into it, and there's no sign of like things being broken or messed up, or there's no sign of like a robbery or stuff knocked over or anything like that.
Okay. What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, 7-Elevens are typically very busy at most hours of the day. So that right there in and of itself would imply that some kind of shaman, uh, probably some of the Southwest and Arizona kind of background mystic, put some sort of incantation on the the store, killed the power, and then performed some sort of ritual with the coyote, because that's very important in the southwestern Indian tradition, is the coyote, and something with the coyote uh, has to be slain. But this is all done symbolically by some marble that has been excavated out of an Italian quarry, where they are trying to. Um,
But I think the Italian quarry should also be an Indian graveyard.
well, they need the marble for headstones, I think, is what they're.
Now, does the shaman have beef with the 7-Eleven owner? Is that the origin of this whole thing, or what? Is it to drive away their customers?
I didn't work that out. The story.
I think that's what happened. I think the 7-Eleven owner slept with the shaman's wife, and he brought this on himself now.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's interesting. Cool. So um, how how do you feel right now?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm having a good time. I've been looking forward to this. I was a little sleepier coming in at 10 o'clock there than I anticipated from the long weekend. So but as soon as we came on, I woke right up. So
Actually, me too. Me too. I was like, oh, I don't really want to do this. But okay, I'll
yeah,
just do it. But actually, it's great. The okay, so but how do you feel physically right now?
physically good.
Okay.
I'm yeah, yeah.
Are you generally attentive to, uh, like, if you're sitting in an uncomfortable position, does it take you a while to notice it, or do you notice it right away?
It can take me a little while. I will be very involved in work or some activity at my computer, typically because I work from home, sitting right here, and I may at some point go, "Wow, this chair feels a little bit cantilevered or something. I need to, you know,
Right.
do something
Yeah.
here." Uh, and it was all along, but I just finally caught up to me. Yeah,
Right. How's your sleep habits?
I try to get 7-ish, 7.5. Lucky to get 8. A lot of times I'm lucky to get 5 or 6, just because I tend to cycle, and especially when there's a lot of turmoil. It's not that I grind down it at night, it's just that I'm kind of amped it during the day. And especially with don't want to get in the subject, but what's going on, in politics these days is disturbing. And when we're in that sort of place of uncertainty, I think it's mostly in a place of uncertainty that tends to keep me up a little bit longer. I like
Yeah.
things to be, I like things to be stable. Then I
Mm.
sleep good. See, I sleep good when I go to San Luis because I leave all this behind. I'm in a different environment. I'm in the remodel house project. We're having fun, and I just forget all my cares, and I zonk out and I get a solid 8 hours of sleep all weekend long. I come back here and I'll probably get 5 tonight.
Right. Um. So do you live around me? So you must live close. Or do you head back home north, or you head back home south?
I am in Santa Barbara
Oh, okay.
right now. I was born in Glendora, and I think you're in Laverne.
I used to be in Laverne.
Oh,
I never changed my on my email. I need to
oh,
change that
okay.
still. Now I'm in Arcadia.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I grew up in San Gabriel Valley, so
Cool. Cool.
homie. But yeah, no, I'm been in Santa Barbara though since I came up to UCSB for college. Been just stayed like a lot of UCSB students do.
It's nice up
Uh,
there.
yeah, we met married, and just this made this part of the world our home, and her parents are from San Luis Obispo. Obviously, that's where she has the house. So we're kind of all over the place right now, but
I went to
it's been
college in
perfect.
Santa Cruz, so I spent
Oh, okay.
4 years driving up and down the 101. You
Yeah.
know. um.
How'd you like Santa Cruz?
Uh. You
Banana
know,
slug.
it was beautiful and everything, but it was a time of my life when I was very young. You know, ENTPs grow slowly, and young ENTPs are kind of a mess.
What
So
did you? What was your major? Was it? Was it debate, philosophy, logic?
American literature, or
Oh,
it's English,
really?
but
Oh,
with a
that's
sub
fantastic.
thing of American literature. Yeah, it's not fantastic. It was, as far as I'm concerned, it was largely a waste of 4 years. But
Oh well,
it's good to get. You know, at the time, it still mattered to have the piece of paper. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'm a geology major, and I made a career of aerospace engineering, and now I like to write novels. So,
oh, fantastic! Wow. Um, so let's talk about your writing. Um, do you think it's easier to? Are you writing? You're right. Well, you're writing novels. So do you think it's easier to do the characters or the plots?
I love characters, but I mean, gee, I love character. I love working the characters, but it's not a character-driven story per se. It is a plot-driven story. So you have a real, movement. People,
So when
uh,
you're writing, are you very attentive to what's going to work with with a reader?
I really don't so much care that much what works with a reader because, and I'm a hobbyist writer, by the way. I mean, I'm still working in the aeros or the infrared detector layout engineering world. That's where I make my bread and butter. So writing is just a hobby. That's not
That's
my
fine.
living.
It doesn't matter whether it's professional or not as far as the typological information.
Okay, so the oh, I got lost in myself. What was the question?
It's about writing your the way you write. Talk to me about your process.
Oh, well, the process is it's been iterative because it was a learning project for me. So I started out with a very simple story originally, and it was what's the worst thing possible could happen to a guy caught in a triangle relationship, left for dead, but kind of survives it and comes out. What's the worst possible scenario? And I decided to write this story, how he gets out of it, where he is misunderstood. There never was an affair. No one really did anything wrong, but he was totally misunderstood. That was the premise. Okay,
Okay.
so
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 everyone's
you can
perceptions of him are wrong.
so it's you have to have one thing you have to have. Now I'm getting back to the question. You have to work the perceptions of the reader. So your protagonist has to be doesn't have to be, but typically is a little bit heads and shoulders above the average bear, so that the readers can be comfortable with them and approve of them. If your readers aren't approving of your protagonist, you're not going to have many readers. I mean, they're just going to put the book down and say this guy sucks. So, so yes, you do have to write to the readers at a certain level. But in terms of genre, you're going to have to be stuck with the type of people that read that type of book. You can't write a book that's going to be appealing to everybody. And if you're unrealistic about that and you're trying to write a book that's appealing to everybody, again, you're going to write a book that's appealing to no one.
I see.
So,
Okay, I got
yeah.
you. So in other words, you got to let a thing be what it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I mean, thus far, everything you've told me, except for your initial ease, except for the thoroughness with which you answered the SI question,
Oh,
everything else says INFJ.
oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, but I'm only halfway through. I like to sort of give a person a heads up about what I'm thinking at the halfway point.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
You weren't
So,
expecting that. Okay. So the thing is, the SI question suggests your SI front stack.
right.
Um, so it may be that you're and ISFJ is another possibility. But let me ask you some questions. Let me sort of reset to zero, and I'm going to ask you another sort of alternate approach to these things and see if we get equivalent results. So, what do you value more? What do you value most from your partner in terms of things that they provide? Is it like cooking for you, or companionship, or uh, cooperation on a two-person team, or talk to me about it.
Um, don't worry too much about cooking. We actually live kind of a very amicable but separated life. So we're together a lot and we're apart a lot, and it's partly by design, not just by accident. It works out really well for me to have my own space. So cooking and all of those kind of activities are very. She takes care of herself, and I take care of mine. I know. Um, if you know, just get down to the relationship with me and my wife. So I think it has more to do with cooperation, that we are on the same. We value the same, close enough, not identical, but we value things close enough. We agree on those things, um, or we are willing to let the other person just have their opinion and not feel coerced to have to comply or approve or anything. Just be, we can be each other with each other and have differences of opinion, and it doesn't have to break us apart. You know, we don't have to be, 100% on the page together, and still respect and enjoy. So it's really more of a kind of cooperation around that area. And at the same time, we like to, you know, enjoy the same kinds of foods, enjoy the same kinds of movies, to have a certain amount of compatibility in likes and preferences and so forth, and that works for me. And I think having this, the same spiritual attentiveness, so to speak, so that there isn't a real discord or disharmony in, very different. It helps. It
So
helps for.
you prioritize. It sounds like, if I were gonna nutshell it, it would be agreeing to not disagree.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
We're very agreeable.
that's important. Yeah, it's important to not be
I don't want to
just.
feel threatened or having to explain myself all the time.
Um, can you tell when you wake up if you haven't gotten enough sleep?
Yeah, I can. On those really bad nights, yeah.
And what do you think I'm trying to get at by asking that question?
I have no idea. And I've heard you ask it before, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Okay, so I'm trying to determine how high up in the stack your SI is.
Oh,
Because, um, like, this question emerged from an event in my previous relationship where I was with an ISFJ who would get up in the morning. She said, I need to go back to bed. And I was like, well, how, what do you mean? She's like, well, you can tell when you haven't got enough sleep. And, and this surprised me. Okay, like, what, you can, oh yeah, maybe, oh, I guess you can tell that. There's some set of data there for me to check, that I could regularly check to see if I've gotten enough sleep, instead of just waking up and just going, oh, I guess I'm up now, as I normally do.
yeah.
So what's your feeling about that? Is that something you think you regularly check in yourself, or is it not really an option to go back to bed, or something else?
Oh, yeah. Let me kind of re-answer that in terms of not enough sleep. I typically will get enough sleep. It's a difference between recognizing how refreshed I feel versus okayish I feel. And
I
I
see.
really like that. I get up really refreshed. I love that. And when I don't get that, I feel like bummed out, but that's okay because I had enough. And I have to get going on my day, and I don't set an alarm. I wake up at 6. I get up. I just hit work running. I'm up with the sun. There's absolutely no reason to set an alarm because I'm working from home now because a lot of us engineers are, so I don't have to like
So,
walk through the door.
what kind of engineering do you do?
I do computer aided design for the infrared detector side of an electronics stack. So I work in a group that the readout guys lay out all the schematics and they send out to have an outside company build the actual electronic chips. Then at our company, we do the next step where we put um, the detector materials on that will sense the infrared. So these are for night vision systems, scopes, and so I I take the electronics that they build and then I come up with the designs for the detector stack that goes on top of that. So you have a working system to do all sorts of interesting cameras and things. Did that make any sense?
So, how do you approach like does somebody come to you with an engineering problem and say solve this for me? For example, look, we need this piece that fits here that does this, but we don't know how to come up with it or
We I have worked in those types of roles. At the specific one that I'm doing isn't so geared towards that. It's more, you know, take this to the next level kind of thing. You following certain design rules. But I have worked definitely at I worked I'm working now for FLIR. I worked at Raytheon, and my Raytheon job, I was more involved in product development. So where it's like, okay, this is what we have. We need to we have a customer that has a new idea and it wants it to be like this, but we've never done this before. And so I would be one of my jobs is to assemble the team to put together all of the concepts and ideas to implement a new design that had never been done before. And the other things that I did was successfully work in troubleshooting. So we're building a part and it's been working successfully and suddenly something has gone wrong, terribly wrong in the process. So I also could work in manufacturer engineering where I
uh,
go into the
okay.
labs and
All right, let me ask you this.
okay,
How do you think I feel right now?
I don't know. You just pulled what do you call that? Pull a bong.
For long riff?
So I'm not sure since I don't smoke, I can't tell you.
That has nothing to do with how I feel.
Okay.
That has absolutely nothing to do. This is
You
just
feel a
a
little overwhelmed at me throwing a bunch of the science crap out?
no.
Okay.
I feel confused about what type you are.
Oh.
I feel completely confused. I feel more confused about your type than I felt about anybody in a while. You're a strange one. Um,
I've been told that in not such flattering terms.
so okay, do you perceive yourself as socially graceful?
When I have to be.
Do you perceive yourself as guilty of making of under prioritizing that?
I'm socially graceful in a calculated way.
What? Okay, all right. So in
Okay.
other words, you have an awareness of what comprises social grace and attain it because it's expected or beneficial or it's just how you roll, rather than you're just naturally appealing and graceful.
I couldn't have said it better. I'm glad you're recording this. I'm going to need to go back so I can explain me to somebody sometime.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Like, for example, when I have to participate in group whatever participations, because the company that I'm keeping has is sort of like, this is how we get along, and if you want to be with us, you're going to get along with us. And I have a objective that I'm going to get out of being involved with them, so I have to go along with their role playing and their small talk and their chit chat because there's something I'm going to benefit out of being part of this group.
Okay. How clear are you about the benefit of doing that? The benefit you're seeking? Is it just a general awareness this is going to be beneficial, or is it a specific, clear outcome that you anticipate in gaining?
Keep asking that. I'm not quite hanging with my mind.
Okay, so it's like, when you decide to apply yourself to a given project or something,
Hmm.
are you doing so because you have a general understanding that this holistically is a good idea and I want to be a part of it because it's going to produce good outcomes? Or do you think by participating in this, I'm going to be able to attain outcome G that I have been seeking, and this is a means to attain an outcome that I've been seeking?
I would like to think of myself as the former, but I'm afraid I'm more of the latter, to be honest. I think I do use various things to achieve a goal beyond it. That the group or the participation may be enjoyable and in and of itself very meritorious. It's not really why I joined it. There's always got to be some further goal I'm shooting for that this is going to enable me to get something beyond it.
Okay, interesting. Um, I was just gonna ask, and it's in my mind all of a sudden. Um, okay, so let me let me try some rat test stuff. Have you ever seen me administer the rat test before?
It sounds familiar, so when you do it, I'll probably recognize it.
Okay.
I think I remember hearing you say that in a session.
Okay. I just remember what I was going to ask though, which is, do you, when you wake up in the morning, do you have a clear understanding of what you're planning to get accomplished during the course of the day, or do you have a clear understanding of what goal you're looking to accomplish down the line, and you'll just do things that help to attain that goal as you go across them during the day?
Oh man, I think the latter more. At first, I was going to say the former, and then the very last thing you said that made me understand what you're getting at. Um, I have very clear goals that I are set by my company, and I'm only thinking in terms of the work at my company. But there's lots of other things I'm doing outside of that too. And if I incorporate the whole picture, then it's definitely more of the latter. Especially, I went, I re, between the 30-year job and the one that I'm in now, I had 2 year of retirement. And I was retired. I had goals, but I was playing the whole time, and I was working on my book, and it was a pretty random stretch of time of unstructured, very much fun play. Once I got back into the workplace, the structure kicked in, and in order to meet, you know, cost schedule, all that, then I have to have a fairly structured day to meet the goals that my company is expecting of me to do in order to get a paycheck.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Okay.
therein lies the out there. I have reason to comply with the structure so I can, you know, get this paycheck and keep them coming because I have things out beyond this that are more important than actually the in the moment. And I just don't want anybody from my work to watch this video.
Okay. I think you're just a not awkward INTJ, is what I think.
I'm a not awkward
INTJ.
INTJ.
Yeah.
Is is that another way of saying I'm a 60-year-old INTJ?
I think you're an INTJ uh, who doesn't, it's like, I would say you've got good FE, but what I mean is, you don't, you don't immediately come across as FE polar, and in a lot of your answers, you even come across almost as FE tool function. But then when I start to dig a little bit more, I see a lot more TE. So it's a very strange combination of things. I see plenty of SI, but let's do this rat test here and see how you do on this. Okay,
Okay.
so like the word that goes with all three of these is cheese. Cottage cheese, Swiss cheese, cheesecake. So
Yeah, yeah.
you go
Okay.
before or after. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so you try number two.
Ice cream, ice skate, ice water.
Yeah, that's right. I can't click it here, but that's right. Go ahead, continue.
Sore loser, sore throat, sore
Uh huh.
spot.
Yep.
Uh, oh. Um, uh, showboat, lifeboat, rowboat.
Correct.
Um, night watch, wrist watch, stopwatch.
Yep. Okay, let's go down to some harder ones.
Yeah, because those are, yeah, that could be misleading. Okay, where am I? Just any of these?
Yeah, just pick the yellow or red ones, I guess.
Oh, okay, I see where we're at. Okay. Got to pass on that top one.
Okay, this is game piece, mind
Oh,
game, dating game.
oh, okay, sure. Girl, flower girl.
Yep, that's right.
Flower.
Girls, right? Okay, here,
Where am I?
down
Oh,
here.
at
Right,
pot.
pie luck belly.
Oh, okay. Pot pie, potluck, pot belly.
Yeah. How about opera hand dish?
Soap opera, hand soap, soap dish.
Yep. How about stick maker point?
Uh, matchstick, matchmaker,
Yeah,
match.
yeah, that's right. Dust cereal fish.
Uh, gold dust. Goldfish, gold cereal.
No, it's bowl.
Oh,
It's
okay.
bowl. You're good at these. You're really good at them. Home seabed.
Uh, ooh. Um, homesick, seasick,
Yeah, that's right.
sick bag.
How about age mile sand?
Uh, hmm.
Oh, I know what it is.
I give up.
Stone.
Oh, I like that one. I was a geology major too. That's sad.
All right, you're really quite good at these, so that's consistent with INTJ.
Hmm.
What's funny is I said you had terrible TE when you answered the supposedly TE question because you didn't seem to be caring very much about the actual ordinality of the process, right?
Are we talking about
The toothbrush question.
toothbrush?
Yeah, because it's like I
Well,
said.
wait a minute. There's steps
Okay, I
involved.
said break it into exactly 6 steps. You
Yeah.
said 2 steps, and you said that could be 3 steps,
Well, because there's different size of brushes.
but you're only choosing one.
No, because I have different gaps of size teeth, so I have to choose
Oh,
different ones.
you used more than one toothbrush while brushing your teeth?
Yes. Yeah, my teeth are a challenge.
You use more than one toothbrush while brushing your teeth? That is very TE of you. Um, okay.
No, I
Now
have a
I
hygienist
understand.
who's absolutely Joan of Arc, and she's is merciless, and she has me on a very tight regimen to keep my teeth uh, in good shape.
Um, okay, so you're either INTJ or ISTJ, I think. Well, you're not ENTJ, and you're not. Could you be ESTJ? No. No, you've got to be INTJ or ISTJ. And based on your rat test, which is kind of a loose correlate with I would say INTJ is the most likely typing for you. Can you tell me now what you thought you were coming in?
I was in between INTJ and INFP.
Oh, INFP.
And you
No,
wonder
you're not
why
an
I was in
INFP.
between those two?
Why?
Because I took all these damn tests and I always came out INFP, 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 until I ran into a video that says these tests are suspect and you should not necessarily believe them. So then, this is about a month ago. That's why we're having this conversation, because then I started watching a bunch of videos. I was watching videos by everybody. I found yours and I said, okay, it's kind of like that moment that, oh, there's my aha moment. So I'm looking for the guy who can give me the right information. And I saw your very first one and I went, that's it. So from that, I just ignored all the others. And I was watching yours and I was trying to figure out what I was. And I got more INTJ ish as I went along, but I couldn't make up my mind.
You're not an INFP.
I don't know why. Okay, now why would, and I don't think I am either. And that's why I was kind of being sort of like, this is weird. I keep testing INFP, but every time I'm looking at the INFPs that you test out or you pull
Yeah.
over on,
Yeah,
which I love your type police. I'm like,
you're
I am
not.
not those people. I love them, but I'm not
The
them.
thing is, they one of the key differences is they have SI third and NE second, which means they'd answer the NE questions with more extroverted intuition than you displayed. Although you displayed good extrovert, like good examples of extroverted intuition, you displayed NI sized quantities of it. So it's like you didn't want to go this or this or this or this or this. You say, well, here's my creative idea, right? So that's much more of an NI frame than an NE frame.
Okay.
And your SI, on the stuff that we can test directly, you're going to test about the same as an INFP in terms of like being able to remember things.
Hmm.
But the the problem is they're the part you're not the parts you can't test directly that have to have you self-report. You're not answering like an INFP would, which is to say, I think that INFPs have a preciousness about the past and and uh, and their day and their comfort that you just haven't revealed or identified with or displayed.
No, I know what you're talking about. And I think I like the word that you say precious because I have an INFP. I'm pretty sure he is, um, and I just love being around him. But I'm like going, I couldn't live like this.
Right. And there's another reason why you're not an INFP, which is not a good reason for me to type you as not an INFP, but is nevertheless the case, is that the vibe between us is nothing like the vibe I have with an INFP.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a specific vibe I have with INFPs because they're my supervisor type. I,
Oh,
I always feel judged by them and not being able to know what their judgment is.
okay. Well, now how do you vibe with INTJs?
I typically get along well with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we both our absolute values are the same, which is to say they are Ni, Ne, Fi, and Fe. It's just they're they're mirrored in terms of what kind of absolute value they are. So for you, Fe is seventh. It's still an absolute value to have social grace and stuff for you,
Mhm.
but it's not something that you experience outside of a single frame of reference usually. I'm not
That
exactly sure
okay.
how that works, but
This is why I was having a hard time with Fe and Fi because I couldn't parse the difference between when I was using it almost manipulative or if I would, because I sincerely care about people. I really do.
right,
Um,
yeah.
that just
Okay.
sounds like
That's a very FE
I'm a
polar
complete
answer,
car
actually.
salesman. I'm not.
No, that's a very FE polar answer. To be worried all the time that basic FE stuff is manipulative is a very FE polar thing to do.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually quite consistent. Also, not being able to distinguish between two of meow or meow is a good sign that one of them is your polar.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
So that would make sense then as well. The FFE was your polar. And the FI third precedence, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, FI, if you think of it as, you say, well, I really do care about people I do, or whatever. You know, you don't have to convince me. I understand that INTJs, the thing is, they, they care a lot, and it's third slot. So I care a lot about people's perceptions of me, but it's third slot for me. So um, I I only it's kind of selfish, you know. It's like the things that the people you love in your life and the people who are important to you get special attention from you.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Oh yeah, that's one of the confusing things. Because I mean, I'm like ridiculous. If I've decided that you're worthy of my love.
right, yeah. No, I've seen this before in another INTJ who's around the channel quite a
but
bit actually.
but if you're not, you're in trouble.
Right, exactly. So it's selfish, and it's just like my FE is selfish. I always want to be the one performing. I want to be the one talking, and
Yeah.
it's. I think I feel quite comfortable that with the typing of you now as INTJ. I
Okay.
feel relieved that it's coming to such clear focus, and I'm very interested to see what other people say. I suspect one comment I'm going to get is, "How did it come? It took you so long to realize he was an INTJ." I bet you I'm going to get that comment.
No, now just hey, I know we got 3 minutes left, but
But take your time.
okay, just how is it that I would test over and over and over and over again INFP and not feeling all that great about the results, but not being able to test differently? What is driving that?
Okay, well, as far as there's a couple of things driving it. One is those kind of tests. Usually they're mostly self-reporting tests. So how you view yourself is consistent with yeah, but how people view themselves and how they actually are is different, and also how people view themselves correlates with this average in varying degrees, you know. So some people will correlate strongly with this average type description, and other people correlate weakly with it. So if you're trying to type against a type description, you're going to have an inherently bad test. In other words, it means that you fit their estimation of how somebody meeting this type description might answer these questions, which is a really terrible way to assess something. So the problem with it, of course, is it doesn't do any process analysis, and there's some functions where you can see the process in action so much that you can test definitively for a polar. So if you had been extroverted intuition polar, you would have answered the extroverted intuition questions differently. I didn't really hammer that point, but like
Mm.
it was clear you weren't polar and you weren't dominant. At very first, I thought you were an ENFP.
Mm.
That was the first thing I thought was you were an ENFP. But I rapidly realized that was not the case.
Yeah,
um,
well, I can come off pretty extroverty if I decide I'm in that mood. I can pull off extroversion pretty well in terms of a passing fancy. Or I like, like on a one-on-one, I'm much more extroverted when I'm with on a one-on-one. The
right.
more people that come in the room, the more I'm going to fade to the back. So
That,
when I'm taking this test, the one thing I was thinking is just an example how I could have really been way off in the weeds on the test. Just one example. I remembered, when you take a road trip, do you like to plan it all out or are you all spontaneous? And I'm like, well, I love to do spontaneous road trips. So I wrote spontaneous. Well, that's not how I am the under 364 days of the
okay.
year.
So that's what I call the jumping fish phenomenon. If you ask a fish if they like the air, and they're a fish who loves to jump out of the water, they'll
Yeah.
say, "Yeah, I'm totally an air loving creature." But if you're actually checking to see if they're a bird, you'll check them off as bird. Yep, they're a bird. When they are actually a fish that just is jumps out of the water more than the other fish. They're comparing themselves to other fish or remembering the instances of jumping out of the water because they're special and saying, oh, I love these special instances. And then the
So
test is going, he's a bird.
perfect. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, that helps a lot because I would be very consistent on how I answered these damn things. And I'm like, this will drive me nuts.
Well, it just there's not a good understanding of how to of the problems of assessing in the thing because people assess by a lot of different things that fall into a few different classes of questions. They're either values self-reporting assessments. Those are most effective if you were to ask uh, not just about the value, but whether it's absolute or instrumental, which tests never do. They'll just say like, "But if you value this, then you're a yeah." But that they don't. It's not differentiating enough. Or they ask self-reporting questions in terms of how do you perceive yourself, not values but behaviors, right? Like, do you perceive yourself as somebody who likes to meow to do this or
Mhm.
that or the other thing? Or they're questions that assess processes such as test your TI with TI questions or something like that. The thing is, if if when you're testing somebody, you don't know which kind of question you're asking or how that impacts how you should assess the answers to it, then you're not going to be able to successfully test somebody. So that's why I don't have a an internet test you can take because I can't come up with one yet. Maybe there I will be able to eventually that could reliably assess people because people have varying degrees of accurate self concept. If you ask an ESFP on a test, self assessment test, what they are, they'll come out as what they want to be. You're trying to be consistent with your answers, right? You're assuming that okay, well look, if I take a variety of different assessment protocols here, and keep my answers consistent across them, then whatever variations within the assessment protocols there are, that will be washed out by the large number of assessment protocols, and as a result, my answer, if I get most frequent, should be the correct answer.
Mhm.
Except all these assessment protocols are making the same basic mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, this has really been really fantastic because I've been just basically, the access and not uh, not enough foundation to really access myself or diagnose myself. That's not the good word. Self assess myself, uh, and thinking I maybe, and I just didn't want to be in that spot where I never really know because I would like to take a look now at a little deeper at the shadow functions, at the or the maybe the third, fourth slide, all that as I move along now, and can kind of like now hone in on my strengths, where my weaknesses are, and perhaps develop my develop a little bit more you know well-rounded, temperamented person. I don't know if that's possible, but
The thing is, it's a thing where because you're an NI valuer, you weren't going to be satisfied until you felt like the answer you got was consistent with the data both from the tests and the descriptions and from your understandings of the functions and stuff. And
that's
it
correct.
remained inconsistent until now when I think you're going to be quite comfortable with the INTJ typing.
I think I will be. I do appreciate it.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'll publish this shortly.
Okay,
All
I
right, good
appreciate it.
night.
Night.
Bye.